And we're live. Hello,
What,
John.
Anthony?
How are you on this wonderful Saturday evening? Again,
Saturday evening. What's the plan here? You're thinking a couple more
I
weeks
think
of
it might be more
evenings, and then
weeks.
we'll
Yeah,
be.
I've been having to work the past few Saturdays in the morning, so next few weeks, just through the 26th, whatever day that is, 2 weeks from now, that'll be the last day I have to work on a Saturday. So after that, we'll be back to the good old Saturday mornings. 8 a.m. is just a little too early for everyone. Um,
Hmm.
because I get up and it's just too much to like get ready for work, then do this, then end this, then go to work. I just don't really feel like doing that. I'm a lazy
See,
boy,
man.
lazy boy. Um,
Sure.
but anyways, Survivor, the third episode, and we lost dear old Vince, dear boy Vince. He went home with an idol in his pocket. Uh, how do you feel about that? Is that? I mean, I know we were talking this beforehand. I'm not sure if you can think of anyone. This might be the earliest someone's ever gone home with an idol. No, I can think of one. I can think of one. Someone who went home on the second tribal of the season with an idol in his pocket from a season that you did watch. I think you watched.
Oh,
It's not a recent one, not recently, but it's one of the bigger ones from the past.
would have been a while back. I don't know. Did somebody have one? Heroes versus villains,
Not
and they
heroes
got
versus
bonked.
villains. Not heroes versus villains. After
Um,
after heroes versus villains. I just thought of it. This might be the only example of something this early, other than Vince.
I don't know. I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me.
Brains, brawn, beauty. Garrett went home with an idol in his pocket on the second tribal. Because the first one that went home was David Sampson, the owner of the Marlins at the time, or president of the Marlins. Yeah,
Hmm.
wild fact. Fact. Um, but yeah, so this is a very early exit for someone who had an idol in their pocket that couldn't even save it for later in the game, but we will get into that. He earned it today and went home with it today. At least he's got it on his shelf back at home, probably. He's probably going to show it. It's right next to his buff. It's more of a collection than most people have. Not sure if would you be cool with that? Like, would you show that off if you had an idol and you got voted off a Survivor? I
I
don't know if I'd
mean,
ever want anyone to see that.
that's sort of a little embarrassing. I mean, it's not like nobody's gonna see it. If they
No,
watch
yeah,
the
yeah.
show, they're gonna
Well,
see your moment
obviously,
of.
moment of shame.
I'd probably put it in a frame.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Like, how about James, where he went home with two?
Mm,
He just has them
mm.
next to each other. Or who was the one that had the stick? Oh, that was great. I wish that I wish they saved that stick. Where he thought they tied a note to a stick, and the guy found it, and he was like, "It's an idol," and the girl was just like,
It's
"That's not an
perfect.
idol. Like, it's just stick." She said,
Uh,
"It's an effing stick."
the
Uh,
line. That's the line, right?
yeah, that it's an effing stick, which it was. It was definitely just a stick. But anyways, back into the episode. So we start off with the repercussions from the Vokai tribal of last
Mhm.
2 weeks ago. Um, Molly going home. We get back, and Jamal and Jack aren't really like too upset, which is I think good on them. They don't seem like they're like too like oh can't trust anybody, kind of like how Aaron was in the first episode or the second episode. He's like I can't trust anybody. This is ridiculous. So they kind of played it right. They came back and were like okay, it happened. We were wrong. And Jack seemed to handle it really nicely. Jamal not as nicely, but yeah, I mean, I think the target's still not them though. It looks like good old Nora has the target on her back, and her genius plan is gonna come back and just not matter at in the end because she's too random. Do you think anyone could play with random? Any of these people?
I mean, Jason's done a decent job of it so far. Doing an incredible job of picking up these pieces.
Oh
Mr.
yeah.
Tommy getting, but pulling Kelly to talk to Jack at the watering hole after,
Your mic's
you know,
cutting in and out again there, John. See, try to like unplug it real quick and plug it back in. Maybe that'll work.
see.
But yeah, Tommy did bring them over to the watering hole, and that had that little thing to that little powwow to talk about um, how the last tribal was just more so it was for the best of him at the time and all that, and like they don't need to like let that linger in a sense. It wasn't the word for word quotes he said, but that was kind of the gist of the message. I still don't think it's working. Oh, this is unfortunate. Anyways, I'll keep talking while you figure out your mic situation over there. So yeah, Jason played Nora beautifully. He was able to play with random, play with chaos a little bit. I know we've mentioned Abby Maria a few times in the past about how she's the best example of just someone who's there to cause chaos and not necessarily be the most workable person. Like you can't really work with them because you never know what they're going to do next. And I think Jason played it really well to start, but it was more so a matter of survival at that point. And I don't think that I think he recognizes that Nora is too chaotic to keep around in the future. And I think he will be all for a vote to get rid of her, even though he's her closest ally for right now. He just, I think he's aware of he'll lose her at a moment's notice if she remains as chaotic. Nope, can't hear you. This is fantastic. All right, well, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm just gonna meander on. Yeah, right. The silence of the John. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. The sound of silence by the Disturbed. Um, we're really having so much fun talking to each other and me talking to myself. But I'll linger on. So they got back Vokai. I don't think uh, Jamal and Jack are too much on the outs because of the vote. I think they realize. I think Jamal definitely learned his lesson because of the way he talked about uh, the first gear at the first tribal their first tribal and how he thought that I just need to relax and all that. I think he gets the message, and I expect more of Jamal now. He does look really bad, and he gets a really bad edit, so I'm not convinced that he is a main player later on still, but I still think he can recover and have a tolerable or a decent enough game to feel good about later on. So Jack, however, I think has played it perfectly. He was just like, "You got me," kind of thing, and he's sitting pretty good. Because I think a lot of people appreciate Jack. They know they need him in challenges just as much as they know they need Jamal. Um, He's a very nimble guy, strong as well. He's got the dexterity, he's got the strength, he's got brains too. So he's very, very useful, which makes him a challenge later on. But for a tribe that seems like they're more powerful than Lyro, as Lyro can't win puzzles, it seems like they can be in good shape for the rest of the season in terms of winning team challenges. So, speaking about the challenge, since I still don't have John, unfortunately. I know he's trying over there. It's go ahead, buddy. Keep going. Do you have? Can you use like a computer mic? I mean, that might not be ideal, but it'll catch you some voice. Hear your. Oh, you tried that. Oh, that's not good. Do you have to? Did you change your mic settings in Discord there? Oh my goodness. And I tested in Discord, and you got it to respond in the test, or no? Yeah, it's not coming through. Hold on. What is going on? um, well, sorry for the delay, folks. This was not planned. Got to get the IT team on it that we have behind the scenes. Pull them out from behind the curtain. Try using Audacity real quick. See what you can if you get a response in Audacity. If you can get it working elsewhere, you might have to. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Yeah, try getting open in Audacity. You might have to restart Discord, and then we'll hop back in to a call. That may be the move. So, somebody call medical. It works in Audacity. My best bet is honestly just to restart Discord. That's probably your best bet, just to get it going. Cool. All right. Well, we're just gonna see my lovely face for a little bit here. How's everybody doing tonight? I probably don't know anybody in the chat. You probably are all buds of John's. I appreciate you coming out. While we labor through these hard times here on Saturday evening Survivor. Oh, he's back.
Hmm.
Oh, I can hear him. Oh, the
Oh,
boy is back. We just need your face
get
now.
me in here.
Get that face. Get that face.
Come on. All right.
Yeah, you're very clear. I just have your icon. I mean, if you can't get your video working, that's fine.
That's me. That's me. I'm a bird now. And
Yep. You always were a bird.
camera's on.
Oh my god, it looks so much clearer now too. It's all fixed.
Oh, some gremlins, man.
Yeah,
Frick.
listen, they chewed the wires.
I'm glad medical came
Medical came.
to help me out.
Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe showed up.
Dr. Joe. Okay, where were we?
I kind of lingered on there about talking about
Yes.
post Vokai, talking about Tommy, Jack, Jamal, Kelly, kind of talking. Oh, and okay, you're good again. Okay, you went out for a second there.
Whew. Don't even scare me like that.
You know, it's fine. We'll power through. We'll trudge on. And I mentioned how
Okay.
they need kind of Jack and Jamal in the challenges, especially when they're looking as strong as they are in the challenges, which is more so the puzzle aspect of it, which Jamal killed this time around. But
Yes, he did.
Lero just can't win a damn puzzle. They just can't.
That is the root of all Lyro evils.
Yeah.
They do not have puzzlers,
I
as
just
they are putting Dean on a second puzzle.
listen. Like, how could you like? Unless you're purposely like throwing a challenge to vote someone out, which is not what they're doing. Why on earth would you put that idiot?
Dear
Idiot!
Lord.
I have his name across my chest. That idiot up to do a puzzle.
Phew.
Well, while we're on Dean,
Yes.
Genius Dean decides, well, let's split the vote, as he tells in front of
Yes.
everybody. And who was it? Chelsea was just like, or was it Elizabeth? Which one?
It was Chelsea. It was
Chelsea, who's in love with him now. Crazy.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that too. But well, we're Dean. We're in front of everybody.
Everyone's here.
And Karishma's sitting there like, oh, it's me, isn't it? Which, I mean,
Uh,
in theory, it's not the worst thing he could have said. He could have said,
mhm.
let's split the vote between him and Karishma, with Karishma sitting there. He didn't say that. So his IQ's 2, not 0. But, you know, he's very questionable. Very questionable. And I can't be more disappointed. I do love though how the way that they just didn't give him any confessional time really at all to start until that happened.
Dude,
That
a real
was
coming out party for Dean.
I think that was edited to perfection. I loved how they just waited
Mhm.
for that.
Yes. Yes. He has the potential, as Christian says in the chat, to be a true legend. I think he could be everything we need. Do you subscribe to the fact that if you consider the editing that Dean's going to get voted out via split vote later in the season?
I don't. That would be
No.
pretty cool if it just happened that way. I think the editing. I think they've gotten much better with the editing because they used to be able to tell exactly what was going to happen based off the editing. Now Edge definitely that happened because you don't play the game for half the game. You don't have any screen time for half the game. So, but they do need to tell the stories, and that's got a pretty good story arc to it. If he talks about the split now and then gets voted out later, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's voting Dean out anytime soon. I don't think he's a threat to anyone but himself.
Aw, what a guy.
This guy, he's a salesman. Salesmen are supposed to be good at Survivor. What happened?
Hey, he's still in the game.
He's still there.
He's
He's
got
just
he's got plenty of opportunity to turn this
listen.
boat around.
He's not done yet. I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
next thing you know,
yeah.
he's gonna pull out like some crazy stuff next tribal, where he's gonna protect
Mhm.
because now all of a sudden he's got to protect his relationship with Chelsea. He's gonna make some crazy moves. He's gonna turn into Boston Rob. Just wait. Just wait.
Oh,
Well, while that was going on, Vince was sent off to the island of the idols, which
yes.
to this point I thought was very promising. I thought it had been very smooth. I have no idea what I watched Wednesday night.
Yes, it was truly a bizarre Twilight Zone scenario. This, seemed to be grasping at straws. Third episode into
Third
the
episode.
into
Yeah,
the
that's right. Like,
season.
it's not even like we're running out of ideas here.
Nope.
Ooh, that's a rough one.
Yeah, Mr. Vince is tasked with the suggestion to sneak into Vokai camp and steal fire.
Steal fire, because that's totally logical for anyone to ever do.
Or any evidence that you were there
Like
is a major important fact.
it would have been something if he had to like steal something of more significance, because
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't even say if they had a fire lit and it wasn't raining
Yeah.
and he just lit the torch, he's not stealing their fire because they still have fire.
Right.
Like
Right.
what? How does one steal fire? Like
You
that's
take a bucket. Rob and Sandra have to give him a bucket, fill it with water, take the fire, put it in the torch, put the fire out, and then get the heck out of there. Too bad the rain did it for him.
I mean, if this was season 5, he definitely would have been tasked with stealing all of their food. But they don't want
Oh
to
yeah.
deal with the situation of someone getting sick anymore, and there's too much insurance liabilities there at this point. So I guess this could have worked 30 seasons ago, but not this season. Nah, I was not feeling this one in the slightest. Also, in my head, this is gotta be steal their flint. That's a good one.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. I mean that's how they make fire and force them. You can then have the opportunity. Well, who was no? They didn't even go. That was Elizabeth. She was on Lyra, who could have made the fire without flint in theory, because she
Right.
showed how to do it with bamboo. Or no, wait.
Mm-hmm. Janet.
No, Janet knows how to make it with. That's the point. Doesn't matter if he
Queen
stole the
Janet.
fire. Janet has it, so she can just make it out of bamboo. Janet, ooh,
Yeah, steal Janet too.
yeah,
That's
right.
the key. That's the key here. Yeah, so I like the idea that Christian brings up in the chat about having to steal the flint, but how could Boston Rob have a map of exactly where the flint is?
Yeah, that's something that's. How do you? Why does one
Here's
find the?
here's your entry points. You got to go here.
The best was
Jack's gonna have the flint.
when Sandra was crawling on the beach.
Yes.
Like this is like what happens when a real person gets stranded on an island and starts losing their mind. That's what this was a simulation of in my head. Like this was that bad. Like this is not the game. Also, it's so easy. So easy. Vince is not the sneakiest guy in the world. There is when you pick this guy to do it, which I think we actually mentioned. Like, could you imagine if Vince is the guy doing it when we were saying last week from the scenes from next episode?
Mm-hmm.
And he was making so much noise. I'm sure they edited it to make it more suspenseful than it truly was. But like, if you just have to reach out with a torch, you literally just can crawl, light it,
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you know you have to put it, if you realize there's no fire, why did it take him that long to realize he should open something? Because he made noise opening his water bottle. Like I just feel like it could have been a lot quieter. But it was really easy. It was an easy idle grab, and then a later idle misplay by not playing it. So I guess what goes around comes around. Like this kind of at the end of the day, like if I come back and think of this episode at the end of the season, I'm not really gonna think about it that much, other than the idea that Vince didn't play the idol. Like the Island of the Idols, that was really bad. Nothing memorable there. I mean, I guess it would have been but
Kristen brings up in the chat, yes, it would be harder if he had to take the fire, because then there's a literal fireball flying through the sky that if anybody actually were awake,
they would have seen
it would tipped him off. But I don't know. I before we go into anything else, I want to unpack this a little bit more. So as soon as Vince gets there, somebody's having like a dream, a bad dream. Do
A
we know who that
nightmare.
was?
It was a girl.
Uh huh.
Let me look.
I I don't know. Like it could have
If I
been
had a guess,
Nora.
if I had a guess, I think it was Kelly.
Okay.
I think if I remember correctly, because I think
And
Nora, if it was Nora and she was having a nightmare, she would have had
no
a
one would have
temper
cared.
tantrum. Okay,
That's true. That's true.
Vince would have gotten there, and been like, "What is going on?" Like,
Dude, could you imagine
mhm.
if the night that Vince had to do this happened to be that same night from that Nora references in the second episode saying, I stayed up all night tending to the fire. Like, that would have been
That would have
incredible.
been so
If Nora's
good.
just awake, Vince
Tending to
locks eyes. What am I doing here?
hi. See, it would
Uh,
have been something like if he had to like wake one person or like do like interact with
hmm.
like specifically one person and give them something
Hmm.
like a clue of the island of the idols. Um, like say like this is or say give him a note from like Boston Rob, something like that. Just a note, like nothing crazy. Like that's a little bit more of a that shakes the game up a little bit more than this
Yeah,
does. This doesn't
right.
add anything. It's just
Yeah.
an excuse to put an idol in the game, I think.
Hey, they love idols here on Island of the
Love the
Idols,
idols,
so
you
they're
know.
going to be continually putting them in. Uh, so yes, Vince steals the ash, gets brings it back, and he now has an idol for 2 weeks, which he's gonna blow.
Yep. Then we
Yeah.
cut to commercial, come back,
Mm-hmm.
and we're at the challenge, and we hear nothing of Vince's return to the island
Oh,
from Island of the Idols, which this is, I think, a major mistake by production because
awful.
they had it be a big deal in the first two episodes. So if it wasn't going to be a big deal down the road, you don't need to show them. Okay? Or you need to just make it like downplay it, give it less airtime. Because when you have him come back, especially now, he's the second person from this tribe to come back. Elizabeth's
Yeah,
been there as well. Elizabeth knows generally what he was tasked to do, and they don't even have a conversation about it. What?
just
That's
bad, just awful.
I mean, it's just I don't understand why they didn't show that. Like they showed it, and it was such a big deal the first two because Elizabeth was like, "Yep, nothing happened," and then Kelly has the whole crying thing, and she puts the idol in her hair, which is great, and then just Vince just shows up at maybe he just showed up at the reward. I don't know. Um,
I almost think I mean this is easily the reason that this is hands down the worst episode of the season so far, and
it
may
might be
even
the
be the
worst.
worst
Yeah,
of the entire season as we look back, as you sort of mentioned already. But maybe I should have, or both of us should have looked at this as a tip off of Vince is probably going home here because he's not
yeah,
playing any. They don't have any footage. Like it was, but just blows my mind. It's just bonkers
yeah.
to
It was a
me.
weird episode. Part of it also could be a result of last episode was a very good episode, and that's generally when you have good episodes early on you'd have to have a snoozer because even the first episode wasn't really much of a snoozer, but like I feel like every season early on there's generally a really good episode either preceding or following a really boring episode. So this might be that where this is the bore after the
I
good
won't have it.
episode. So
I
I
won't
mean,
have it.
I wish it wasn't that way, but I just feel like it is that way too often. So now we're at the challenge though, which in my opinion, compared to last week's challenge, I think this was a great Survivor challenge. I thought
Great.
this was a really well designed challenge, and I thought Janet keeping up with an Olympian was awesome.
Yeah.
She was only a
Yeah.
little bit behind a medal-winning Olympic swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
That's Janet's a beast, a
Big
absolute
Janet,
beast.
man.
I'm I don't even care if she doesn't play strategy and she just idle if she just wins individual immunity every episode. She's the winner. She's the
Yeah.
winner.
Oh yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. She did have a good moment there. It's pretty impressive. 59-year-old
She
lifeguard.
hasn't had a bad moment.
No, you're right. You're
She's
right.
been flawless to this point. I mean, she hasn't had a shining moment yet. She's just had
Well,
all good,
yeah.
wholesome moments. But as Christian said, I think it was a fantastic challenge. I think the
Yes.
idea of the the hero swimmer. I always like it when there's like a section of the challenge when it's a team challenge where there's a hero section in a sense, like 1v1, like who's gonna pull out
Right.
the lead. And that was a really good. Just it's just basic there. It's just who's the better swimmer. Boom. Olympian beats out Janet, but it was really cool to see Janet keep up for a little bit there. And then the balance beam section was a fantastic both balance and like
Yeah.
teamwork challenge that I think both tribes did really well. Even
Hmm.
Laro did near perfectly if it wasn't for not throwing the bag forward, which didn't really
Right.
cost them in the long run
No.
at all.
No.
So I think both tribes figured it out pretty quick. That's not something that I think a lot of people would figure out at first going on there. And I was very impressed by Aaron's wherewithal. Like he knew that you had to shift as they shifted down because of it's a lever. It's just physics. So he
Hmm.
he like very quickly picked that up. And I think the people in the middle were like, "What do you mean? Like there's more people on this side." And he's just like, "Just go, just keep moving." And he kind of led the charge there, which I think was very good on him. Granted, he knows his back's against the wall here, so he's going to do whatever he can to win the challenge. And then even on the Vokai side of
Hmm.
getting around people was pretty well done. Although the one scary part was when Missy got to Tom, and Tom's just a hockey
Yeah.
player, just a
Yes.
bear. I
Yeah.
was like,
I.
oh my! And
I.
Missy's athletic. I knew she could do it.
True.
I was like, I don't know if there's anywhere for her to stand. I thought she was gonna fall.
I. I almost. I wonder why, and it could have just been a random luck, but as Jeff said, it's the last person to get up there has to be the one to go grab the bags. If I were Vokai here, I probably would have gone Nora over Kelly. Kelly's small, and you sort of saw it in the balance portion. She needed to have Jason hold her hand on the far end of
But
the of the beam so she could reach the
that was
bag.
smart though. That was
Oh, it
really
was.
smart.
I'm not
It gave her
not saying it
extra
wasn't.
length. I mean, here's the thing with Nora's very just aggressive as a person in general. I was worried
Mm,
that she'd try to go through it too quick.
mm,
And keep in mind, like before these challenges happens, we never see it. I mentioned it before. I always want to see like the pre-strategy talk. There's a question section before these challenges start. Like after Jeff introduces it and they cut away, the tribes then get to ask questions specifically about the challenge, what they can and can't
mm,
do. Then they
mm,
strategize. They come up with their plan, so they know every step of the challenge going in. They might forget it halfway through. That happens from time to time, but
mm.
it's not like there is a chance to ask questions, ask rules. So I'm pretty sure they knew at that point that the last person up had to do that. And the reason that it was pointed out by Jeff was because it probably was. I don't think it was pointed out when he introduced the challenge. So he had to mention it there so that the rules were understood for us watching. But I feel like they knew at that point who had to go up last, because they
Uh-huh.
quickly, or they had, whoever had to get it had to go up last because they quickly like both knew right away. Like it's not like they took any. It didn't look like there was any shuffling at any point.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So after the balance beam portion, we get to the puzzle. Lyro has the early lead,
Yes,
and our puzzle heroes for Lyro, Dean and Karishma, just a
it's that
powerful
it's that
pair.
it's that Springfield education, John.
Unbelievable. Shout out to Karishma
This is
Patel,
proven Karishma
proven alumni
of our high school,
of our high school.
Springfield High School,
It was real.
which
It
there's
was
probably
real.
100 of in this country. Um,
Yes. Yes.
but yeah, she went to our high school. We even really mentioned her because that whole thing, her whole injury happened pre challenge, where
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
cut herself shucking a clam, I guess, or an oyster, shucking an oyster.
Was it an
Um,
oyster? I don't even know if it was an oyster.
Whatever she was shucking something.
Yeah, she was.
She was trying to open something. It wasn't a coconut, so it was something. It looked like a fish. It looked like a
I couldn't.
shellfish.
I couldn't remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
It,
cut across her hand. The blood is pouring out, and
pouring
nobody
it,
seems to come to her aid. Why
and
is that?
she kept seeing her bone, man.
Yeah, man. I see a bone.
I see my bone,
Spooky season.
and of course the most helpful person in the world was the only one that really witnessed it happen. Good old Dean. He just
Good
kind
old
of
Dean.
looks at it. He's just like, "Oh, you okay?" And then he just like turns away
Uh,
before she even responds. Like he's just
uh,
brain dead. Um,
Jeez.
but other than that, I mean, I think she built it up a little more than it had to be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, she went. There was that one point when she went to the fetal position. Like, people like other people have like cuts and bruises all over them as well. Like they don't really make as big of a stink about it. Yeah, hers was probably a little deeper than most. Like it's probably a little traumatic because it's like the first time she's really hurt herself in this game. So
Yeah,
it's just like
right.
what's happening. Um, and she had to go to
Mhm.
medical to get it wrapped, but she made a bigger stink about it than she needed to.
In her defense, being that she was in the fetal position, I feel like that
That's
warranted somebody checking in on
that's
her,
the
and
one.
nobody did.
Yeah, that's the one thing, and nobody really did because well, she came on. She wasn't like making noises in pain. It was she was just kind of there. Like it wasn't because I think Dean's the only one that saw it, and he's like I said, too brain dead to do anything.
This
He
is
just
true.
walked away. He was probably going to flirt with Chelsea or whatever. So,
Mm,
mm,
maybe,
um,
maybe.
but yeah, I mean, once she's in the fetal position, I mean, I guess they because they did. Someone did mention like what's going on with Karishma. Like
Uh,
someone noticed that, and then
uh,
you know, but we didn't see was the 11th time she did this. Oh yeah, right.
uh,
But
yes.
she
She's fetal positioned for the entire season, as Christian suggests in the
I
chat.
think part
Uh,
of it was she had the whole I'm an Indian in terms of my heritage. She had that
yeah,
heritage moment, which happens to most people at some point during this season that are from another country. They always talk about like if you think of Ty, even Vince, he mentioned it maybe pregame. He mentioned it a little bit. He didn't talk about it too much in the game, but generally like you'll hear um, black players say it like, "Oh, this I've been held back by this." Like Missy's got her tumor thing, which I don't. She hasn't talked about yet.
mm,
You know that's coming.
nope,
You know that's coming. There's gonna be an
yeah,
episode where she's gonna get that. Um, but like I think that kind of tied in. That's why they kind of linked them together, because she had that confessional earlier, and then this happened like just later, and they were just like, "This is a great time to just put sympathy on Karishma." I think, and from a production aspect, because I think they played it up a little bit worse than it was, and she was
maybe,
probably just over a little melodramatic about it.
yeah,
I think it also ties in with the fact that no one's really talking strategy with her, more so because
hmm
she's not approaching anybody. She doesn't have that in her, which is why I think she's putting those two things together, being like nobody cares because they're going to vote me out. And I think that's what got to her more than the injury. That's what I think.
we didn't bring it up, but early in this episode, we see the five girls from Lyro in the ocean, sort of having a good time. Elaine's throwing suplexes, which is pretty baller.
Which is what Elaine does.
That's what Elaine does. And Karishma's there with
Yeah.
them. I'm pretty confident the girls' alliance is rock solid. But Karishma said, I believe, in one of her diaries that like she doesn't want to work with them, but she definitely has the choice. I mean, we'll talk about tribal
Well, yeah, I don't
and
think
the whole address
but
of
she's only here's the thing.
yeah,
She's only being kind of lumped into that because she's the fifth girl.
sure,
She's definitely whether they're saying it or not, or even if they're probably not even thinking it yet. The five girls, she's definitely the fifth of the five. Like
yeah.
that's
But
no
I
doubt in
mean,
my mind because she's not.
it's numbers.
It's yeah, it's numbers, but she's also. I mean, she feels uncomfortable really around them. That's what it is. That's it ties into like her own confessional about she's not used to being so open and being in her bathing suit around everyone. It's just not part of her culture.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
kind of her like in a weird spot. She has to come out of her shell, kind of,
hmm
and she has like that's why I think she breaks down um, to yeah. I just read that making all sorts of. They're going to the WWE after this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
If she just drop kicked, she would fit. She would
So I
fit
think
right
she
in.
just kind of had a little bit of a breakdown, which happens on Survivor. It happens. Like
Of course.
I'm not saying like this is like terrible for her or
Mhm.
anything like that, but just the fact that she's not handling it right. She's not going
Yeah.
to people and making moves. She's because she when we got later in the episode, she acted more sporadically.
hmm
She was like more concerned that I'm going home. Granted, Dean did not help that in the slightest. when he said, "Oh, let's just split the vote," because it's obvious that he was talking specifically to Chelsea, who was next to him, who was in on splitting the vote, so which means the girls are in on splitting the vote. Dean's been talking to them, and Krishna's like, "No one's talked to me yet about the plan." So that's what
Mm-hmm.
kind of sends
Mm-hmm.
this into motion with everything that's happened this episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think it was just a run of things that just happened, and because Karishma really hasn't done anything to like contribute to the group. She's just been a part of it, which is not
Right.
something that strengthens an alliance. It's not very strong then.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's interesting because I thought I remember in her pregame interview that she said that she always wants to be and always feels like she is the life of the party, but I don't, and she did say I'm going to try to not do that,
well, yeah.
but I mean, I think she kind of almost needs to at some point,
I
or
mean,
she needs to bring it on
I think part of it
for her
too is that
sake.
she's completely overshadowed by Elaine because Elaine is the life of the party. So
Yeah, maybe,
whether
maybe.
you are or not, you aren't in real life. She's not in the game, and it's an adjustment thing. And she's clearly
Mhm,
not adjusting well. She's struggling in her
mhm,
head, in her
mhm,
tribe, to adjust to the situation that she's now presented with. And it's not. She hasn't gone scorched earth yet, but she
mhm.
could. And the problem is that she hasn't really done anything to reaffirm anything with anyone.
Right.
All she really did was later on voted with the girls, which is fine. It keeps her around for now, but come a merge, who said if the girls' alliance breaks up, none of them are really going to try to pull her in unless they need her for a vote. No one really has like a connection to her. Like each of the girls have their own individual relationships between each other, except
Mhm,
for Karishma. Karishma hasn't had any bonding with anyone, specifically girl or a guy, at all. So I think that's going to come back to bite her in a way.
mhm,
So,
mhm. Fair.
but yeah.
So now that we're out of the challenge,
Well,
before we go to
we didn't even
oh
finish up
what?
the puzzle bit. We hopped
Oh
straight to
yeah, yeah,
Krishma's
yeah. Let's
injury.
let's let's talk puzzle. Let's talk puzzle. You're
Let's talk
right.
the strategy. So they do have time to ask the questions. They know there's a puzzle at the end. They can strategize in time, and they picked Dean and Karishma to do the puzzle, which are by far the greatest selections in the history of Survivor to do a puzzle. Because Dean is the dumbest survivor in a long time in terms of just pure intelligence, I think. He might eventually show game intelligence, but in terms of just common sense, the boy has none.
Poor guy.
Zero. And
Poor guy.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's much smarter in real life. Like he's a sales guy. He's probably pretty good at his job. But
He's not selling it for me.
he's not selling anything to me. Nothing. Um and then you had Jamal and Kelly or Lauren.
Yeah. Yep. Jamal and Lauren.
Lauren on the puzzle, and they
Yes.
killed it. They blew right
Dominant.
through it. Um, and the problem is that yeah, I know that Dean and Karishma definitely were not the picks for the puzzle,
Hmm.
but there's not too many other picks on the team. Granted, anyone would be better than Dean. At the
Yeah.
same time, I don't think they win regardless. The only
Right.
so here's the thing: the one person that I think could have been pretty good at the puzzle, uh, is probably Elizabeth and Missy. But since they were, my question is, since they were the ones involved earlier in the game, they might have not been allowed to do the
Oh.
puzzle. So like
Hmm.
they said, well, Elizabeth's obviously an Olympic swimmer. Let her do the swimming part. That makes sense. Then they said, Missy, you're the most athletic one. You do the balancing beam. But then maybe there
Hmm.
was a rule where those two couldn't do the puzzle, which are the only two that I would even think to pick to do the puzzle.
Interesting.
Maybe Aaron, maybe Elaine. Like, he's buying all the Dean stock, yeah.
I, yeah, it's a tough call, and they talk about that a lot on the episode, and they talk about it a lot at Tribal with Jeff that they
Can't do
know
puzzles.
that that's their problem, and very frequently in these previous challenges, we see them get an early lead or even have a late lead going into the puzzle, and where's it all go? Or going into the you
Final
know
bit.
final bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Luckily, the second
yeah,
episode there wasn't a puzzle. There was a
yeah,
dexterity thing, and they had Missy at the end,
clutch.
who's a clutch person. They don't have a clutch. Anyone else doesn't really have a clutch gene.
Yeah, Kristen in the chat says she believes that Karishma volunteered. Probably,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe. I mean, Karishma didn't really. I mean, I know we hated on Dean a lot there specifically, but from what I saw, actually, like from what they showed, which doesn't necessarily mean it's what actually happened, he put more
Mhm.
pieces in than Karishma did. Which,
Yeah. Well, what there was? They only put 3 pieces in, I
yeah, Dean was
think.
the. I don't remember Karishma putting in a single. She kept trying to put in a piece that didn't fit. And who was it? Whatchamacallit? Someone was yelling at her, like, I think it was Missy was like yelling like, no, that's the wrong piece, stop trying to fit it in. Like they kept.
Dude, it's like an L
It's like
shape, and she needs a T.
she just kept. I was
I
just
don't know
like,
what the deal
I
was.
mean, like, what are you doing? I mean, granted, yeah, I guess panic sets in. Like Karishma seems like she's smart in real life. Like I said, Dean's probably smart in real life. I hope he is. He's a sales guy. But when it came to that puzzle, neither one was worth anything. And
No.
I guess because she volunteered, because a lot of them on the tribe are probably not as confident. So it's always nice when someone else volunteers because you could then put the blame on them if that's the case, which comes down the road they do, which didn't determine the
Mhm.
vote. But that's not to say that Vince didn't do the puzzle in the first episode and messed that one up himself. So
Yeah. Well, Dean was on that one too.
listen, but Dean looks good in Chelsea's eyes, so he's safe with the girls' alliance.
He hasn't paid for any of the sins of these failed puzzles. Not a single sin, and
This
he's
is his
involved on
game.
both of them.
This is his game. he,
Being a dummy is valuable. It'll definitely help him out.
oh my,
That's for damn sure.
oh my goodness.
Lower his threat value.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Christian says if someone's gonna do the puzzle, are you really gonna object? No, not really. I mean, you could, like in Dean's situation, if he said do the puzzle, I would object. I'd be like, no,
No.
no, you have a bad history. You already tried once. You're not trying. You tried twice now. You are not doing the next puzzle. If there's another puzzle and Dean's on it, the whole tribe should be thrown off the show. Like they
Yeah.
should not let him near a puzzle. Like
Well,
I just don't
I guess
understand.
in Dean's offense, or sorry, in Dean's defense, that first puzzle was pick things up and put them down kind of puzzle. So maybe they needed him there for
The
the sheer muscle
strength, okay,
mass.
yeah, but it's still
Yeah,
this one
am
was
not.
not. This one
It's hard
was
to defend him. It's hard to defend him.
Game Changers
He's
2,
awful.
Dean, yeah. But put
My
him on.
loser. My loser. My loser.
He's your loser of the week.
He's my loser of the week.
Yeah, I'm
He's
not surprised.
just a bumbling
Yeah,
fool.
yeah. Not only with making the mistake of saying, "Oh, let's split the vote," being terrible in the challenge. When the boat came, he tripped over like a tree.
Yes,
He's just
that
a
was great.
bumbling idiot.
That was
Which
great.
also I think that's hilarious. I think I mentioned it to you while the episode was going. When the boat got there, the guy got off the boat was like, "Hello," because I don't think they noticed. I think the whole tribe was oblivious to the boat showing up on their beach.
Oh,
Which I
yeah,
don't
they're
know.
kind of far from the water's edge.
Yeah, but how do you not hear a motor? Like,
Mm, I don't
uh,
know.
oh
A
my.
crackling sound of fire or the chopping of wood, perhaps,
All I'm saying is
mask the sound of the motor.
the winner's on Vokai. That's just all I gotta say. I just
Yes,
think
you know, same for me. Same for me.
even if it's not anyone we think it is, it's. I think Vokai's just got more experience of the game at this point. Even though they've only been to one tribal, the game is
Yeah.
definitely being played more over there than it is on Lyro. Lyro is
Hmm.
it's not like a disaster, but it's a mess. Like it's not like one of those tribes where you're like, oh, this is like one of the worst tribes ever. No, it's just a dysfunctional mess.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but moving on from the challenge, now we
Yes.
go back to Lyro camp,
Back to Lyra
and
Camp.
Vince has an idol in his pocket,
Yes, he
and
does.
he because honestly, Karishma is probably the reason he didn't play it, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because she is like, it's me, I'm going home, I don't know what to do, and Vince is just like, no, no, relax, you're fine. Vote with us. We'll have the numbers because Vince was told to vote Tom, and
Yeah.
so they were just like, all right, well, and she was just like, I guess I'm safe because I guess they're targeting Karishma. I think that's what he thought in his head because he didn't seem to do very much after
Right.
getting back, other than he talked with the boys early in the episode. He doesn't want to work with them just because he doesn't like them, which
Hmm.
that doesn't make sense, my boy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you don't like them, but he doesn't.
Right.
They might be your best hope at survival here, considering they didn't vote your way. Um,
Hmm.
but um, which call it?
Right.
He then goes and he's talking to the Girls Alliance at one point, and they're
Hmm.
telling him Tom and all that. Everyone's. Oh no, who did Tom first? It was
Missy.
Missy. Missy did Tom first. That's right. Missy
Hmm.
went around throwing Tom's name out, which the girls didn't like, and I think this plays very badly for Missy because Missy seems to be the leader of the Girls Alliance at this point,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Hashtag Tom is dad.
Tom is dad, and the girls are like,
Not my dad, but to them.
most of the girls, I think everyone but Karishma. Karishma didn't care. Um,
Hmm.
most of the girls were just like, yeah, we don't really want to do that, but they didn't really say it to her, and they didn't really throw too much shade her way for that. They just
No.
kind of talked her out of it, I guess. They didn't really show that as much because they were just like, let's not. We have relationships with Tom. We can use Tom later. But
Right.
Missy's just thinking we got to go get the smartest boy left. And when you got Dean,
Hmm.
he's not the smart
Hmm.
boy. Vince is just chaotic. He's turning into a chaotic person. Um, Erin's already on the outs. She's just like, let's target the guy who thinks he's the safest. I mean, that makes sense in theory. I just don't think that's a move that you just go out and be like, let's go do it. You got the numbers. Like,
Hmm.
come to a consensus.
Right.
If you're that strong and they're that messed up, come together and decide on someone.
It didn't seem to me that Missy was really attuned to the feelings of the
Yeah,
other woman on the tribe because they were very adamant about how much they enjoyed Tom. I mean, we know that Elaine has early ties with Tom, and Elizabeth and Chelsea were very clearly, hashtag Tom is dad. So it kind of was a very bad look for Missy.
oh
She's
yeah.
been she's been really good, but you texting me throughout the episode, this could be a bit of a spot on her name that could potentially be a problem
Yeah,
later.
because I think like when that girls' alliance eventually breaks up, generally when a big alliance breaks up, the bottom breaks off and tries to cut the head off the snake. They don't care about the
Hmm.
middle pieces. So the head of the snake is Missy. So you don't want to be
Yeah.
stuck as the head of the snake forever. You want to be the head of multiple snakes. You don't want to just be
Right.
the head of one snake. So
Infinity Snakes.
the Infinity Snake Stone. Um, it's like a Slytherin stone. It's just like
Ah,
the
yes.
class ring
Yeah,
for everyone that went to
it's the
Slytherin.
Ouroboros, the snake eating its
Yes,
tail. Hmm.
yes, yes. But so yeah, then I think I'm gonna say my winner of this episode was
Sure.
Aaron. I thought Aaron
Hmm.
had a great episode. After him being the loser of the first episode for me, he's the winner of this episode. I think he was very upset last week, like 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, and didn't really do much. Granted, they didn't go to tribals, so you don't get as much tribe time with them. But this week he talked to the boys to start. He was like, "All right, I gotta get in with somebody." So he brought
Hmm.
the boys in together and kind of had a conversation. Kind of had let's keep band together. We just need to get one of the girls, kind of thing. Let's Vince, if you're with us, like let's do this. Obviously Vince wasn't with them, but he did get Tom. I think he got Tom pretty good there. And
Right.
Dean, he'll go with doesn't count. Um,
Don't count Dean.
don't count Dean. He doesn't count as anything. He's a no vote even if he doesn't go to Island of the Idols and lose. That's what Dean is.
Oh
Um,
man, Dean.
but then Aaron later on, once he goes and talks about getting rid of Vince because he reads that Vince is not interested in him at all. So
Yeah.
he's just like, yeah, let's get rid of Vince. He's not with us really. He's not with you guys. He's trying to be with you guys. He just went to Island of the Idols. Let's do it. Let's split the votes.
Hmm.
And they
Hmm.
stick with the plan that Dean decided to announce out loud. And um, one vote goes to Tom, right? It was just Vince that voted
Yeah, it
for
was
Tom.
only Vince's vote
And
went to
then
Tom.
it was 3 votes Karishma and 5 votes Vince. That was the idea. They
Yep.
split it, put
Yep.
more on Vince. If he plays the idol, Karishma goes home. Done.
Got him. Got him
Um,
played.
because they didn't that way too. If you put the votes like that, which it makes me because honestly that's actually a big distinction from a 4-4-1 and a 5-3-1. Because if you make it a 4-4-1, you really disinclude Karishma. If you make it a
Yeah.
5-3-1, say the girls all voted together to vote Vince. That way, she feels like she's still a part of it and that she was only being targeted by the guys, so they could still use her without her betraying them. So that's a very important distinction because even if he was 4-4-1 and he didn't play his idol and they had a revote and still voted Vince after that,
Yeah.
that still would have put Karishma much more on edge than this will. So it's a very important distinction to make it a 5-3-1 instead of a 4-4-1.
Yeah.
So I think they played that right. I think they nailed that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, Aaron having a really good episode, but I think he's gotta be praying for a swap,
Oh, absolutely.
like big
I
time.
don't think he's in like great shape, but I think because the idea is the only other girls, well, really Missy, that other than targeting Karishma and Vince, the next one was Tom. So that means Aaron's fourth on the list at least,
Yeah.
which means he's got room to play now. He's got room to make decisions because the way he was talking with people, he was much more strategic this time around. He wasn't in their
Mhm.
face. He's still Aaron, so he's still loud a little bit. He's still got that persona to him, but he was
Mhm.
more thinking about it, more worrying about himself, like realizing, okay, like they can't necessarily trust them. This is the person I need to vote out to gain their trust. This, that, the other. So I think he had a good episode in terms of not only building a relationship with Tom, who is built in with the girls, but also building not a relationship with the girls, but an
Mhm.
understanding with the girls because they
Mhm.
don't trust him. I don't think, but it's more so like they
No.
understand him. They know they see
Yeah.
what he's do. They see how he's playing at least. So that way, if one of them wanted to make a move, say on Missy, because they were say next
Yeah.
week Missy they target Missy because of the Tom thing or because they think she's running the show, they know that they can go to Aaron,
Mhm.
combine with the boys, and boom, Missy's gone. Something like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
he's open.
I'm still of the mindset that Missy wants to work with Aaron, but that's remains to be seen.
That remains to be seen. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, she's just trying to be open to everyone, which is, as we saw in the other tribe, dangerous. That's what happened to Molly.
Right?
Except for some reason, I read her exit interview, and God, Nora just hated her. Like she was just like when Nora accused her of sleeping, sleeping, going to bed early. She was like, I don't know what she's talking about. Accused her of she didn't nap. She never napped. She said she was talking to people nonstop. She
Hmm.
said that Nora hated her from day one. Like it was just like a vindictive thing, and it
Yeah.
just didn't work out in her favor
I mean,
because of the way
she's
she played.
abrasive.
Yeah, but like I don't think that's going to look good on Missy the same way it didn't really look good on Molly in a sense.
No.
Like it's not like Elaine, where Elaine was more so the fun person getting along with everyone. She wasn't strategically getting along with everyone. She was building a fun relationship, which is still dangerous, but not to the
Hmm.
level and that it needed to get her out first. Not at all.
Yeah.
So that's why she's
Yeah.
still here. And then they built the girls' alliance, and then Missy's now like, all right, I'm getting along with everyone. I'm talking to the guys, even though I'm voting them out. Like they're gonna get sick of that. The guys, they're
Hmm.
realizing there's a girls thing. Aaron's absolutely receptive of that. Like he knows like they're all together. Look at them. They're out playing in the water together. So I think
Yeah.
he had a really good episode of not only just realizing what the situation, the reality of the
Hmm.
situation is, but also trying to create an out when he needs one. He doesn't
Yeah.
have it yet, but I think he's building blocks to say if they go back again, I don't think Aaron sits there and just lets Tom get voted out if that's the easy vote, or maybe he'll let Karishma get voted out. But say they wanted to vote Tom out this time, I don't think he sits there. I think he makes a move and tries to pull in the bottom of the girls' alliance, not the bottom, but the mid of the girls, because Karishma is the bottom, and I don't think he's going to try to pull her in. But say they
Hmm.
targeted Tom, I could see him going up to Elaine and even Chelsea, because Chelsea's with Dean. That might be just a two vote that you could just take with you wherever.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth, because they might be like, yeah, we don't really want to vote Tom out either. And Missy's kind of running the show because if
Hmm.
in that case, granted, if they go back to tribal again, I think there's a swap coming up because 9-7 doesn't play well. I think after if they go to tribal again, there'll be a swap the following episode. But if
Hmm.
they go to tribal again and they vote out Missy, the girls still have 4-3 numbers. So
Yep.
it's a comfortable thing where you vote out the person who seems to be running the show. Now you're more comfortable for you just work with the other side for one vote, then go back against them the next vote.
Hmm.
That's something
Hmm.
that makes a little bit of sense in my head. Um,
Yeah. Christian in the chat saying the episode preview doesn't give him a lot of faith. I, I mean, what do you think he's referring to?
I don't
Just
remember too much from the episode
there,
preview,
there's not
so
going to be a swap. We know that.
oh
It
no,
would have
there's not gonna be
shown
a
that.
swap. No, no, yeah, and Aaron.
Oh, and Aaron.
Did he blow up in the preview? I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't really recall.
Yeah. He I might pull it up in a second here. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. So,
all things bearing the scenes from the next episode. Let me
mhm.
go to. the YouTube and pull it up. I think Aaron put himself in a pretty good position to make a move if he needed to. Although if he blows up like he did in this episode previously, it's
Yeah.
not going to matter. Oh, there's the preview.
All right, report back. Let's play back. Let me know what
Yeah.
what goes on.
Everybody that comes to the island gets a
Okay.
lesson.
You've got two people
Rob's
sleeping on
talking.
top of each other. That's dangerous.
Rob, Boston Rob.
One of you must
Oh.
come to the
Oh, it's because he pointed out the Dean and Chelsea thing. He's like,
Oh,
I don't like
yeah.
that. That's the thing. So
Yeah.
that's so if he won't work with that. Okay, yeah, he wants to target the couple of Dean and Chelsea.
There you
Okay.
go.
That's
Yeah, that's not ideal because then he has Chelsea saying, "Well, Aaron's coming after me. Elizabeth, Missy, Elaine. How about we get together and cut this guy down to size?"
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see like that just doesn't make sense for him. He could say that in a confessional, not publicly go out and do anything about it. He could
Yeah.
try to mention it to the girls and see if that works, and that won't work. But he's got who's his closest ally? Tom?
I mean, it's probably Dean.
It's probably Dean,
Well,
right?
and not at this point, maybe.
Well, he might be upset
probably
about it,
loses
but
Dean.
he might have to deal with it. Like that's something like, I mean, it's just a preview. We don't know because that's a confessional that he was saying that in. It wasn't like he was saying it to someone, so he can just be thinking that. So I don't know. I mean, which when you see a couple in Survivor, I guess it's ever since Rob and Amber, they were like, oh, you gotta watch out. But ever since Rob and Amber, there hasn't been a successful couple on Survivor in terms.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they just always get voted out, and they don't play the game enough. Like the difference between Rob and Amber is Rob played the game, like he had that on the side, but he used that to his advantage in the game rather than just letting it sit there and be like we're a twosome. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like Dean's probably going to do that because he's an idiot.
I don't know. Christian, you may know in the chat there, the last couple to play the game. I mean, would you consider Christian and Gabby to be a couple from David versus Goliath? I don't know. I think Sebastian had a girl. I can't remember her name in Ghost Island, but it's really interesting to me whenever I see like showmances in Survivor because I feel like it's not always at the forefront, whereas in a show like Big Brother, it's like all they ever want.
Yeah, it's
all production ever wants.
Yeah, it's because you're living in an actual house, living as human beings, and you get Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm.
But yeah, I mean, I remember from Heroes, Healers, and Hustlers, there was Cole and the one girl, and that blew up her game so bad. It happened in Millennials versus Gen X, and it blew up both of their games so bad. But there's also like couples that are great in terms of not necessarily romantic couples, but couples that just work together. Because you see that also as well. Like in Millennials versus Gen X, you got David and Ken, which work to
power duos.
Yeah, power duos, which is more so the concern than couples. But when you're a gym owner and all you think about is muscles all day, like Aaron is, you just generally think about couples in the term of couples. So that's probably what's going through his head. As long as he doesn't act on it, is with a concern. So
yeah.
He might not. From what I saw from this episode, I appreciate the way he played the game at this point. He opened his options again, which doesn't mean he's in good shape at all, but I think he played the best out of everyone in this episode. I don't think anyone else played specifically well. I mean, I think Elizabeth had another solid episode. I think she's just had solid episodes following her mistake in the first episode. I think she's been smart in her relationships building.
Yeah. And Elaine was good. She took the target off of herself this episode.
Yeah, she didn't really. I mean, she hasn't really said too much or tried too much, which she probably has to, which is a good thing. But I don't think she's doing anything crazy, like out of the ordinary, to like promote that she's like, okay, I can go on and succeed in this game. I mean, I think she will, but I don't think she's screaming that. Like, I think Aaron made the most of this episode, made the most of his situation. I think he played the situation properly and bumped him far enough down the chain where if he doesn't mess it up next episode, doesn't act like he did two episodes ago, he'll be fine. But we'll see. My winner got voted out second, so. You know,
too bad. Parvati 9.0.
9.0, right? So, all right. Well, let's get to Tribal.
Yeah, let's get to Tribal.
So, Karishma, when she got up in Tribal, that annoyed me. But she started saying like,
Mhm.
because they pointed out we need to do better in challenges, and Karishma was just like, they're just pointing at me because I messed up the puzzle, and I'm like, yes, like that's what
Yep.
happens at tribal. Like I just feel like she's not as receptive to the game. Like I
Mhm.
feel like because when they're talking about her at tribal, like when people are talking at tribal, you generally know who they're talking about if they're being more specific about specific things.
Yeah.
And you don't need to get you should get confrontational at times. There's times when you don't have to because you know the way the vote's going or something like that. But you don't need to get like emotional. Like there's certain times to get emotional, and that's not one of them. I don't think. I think she got overly emotional, which is why she got up in the middle of tribal, and
Mhm.
it's just like this is not the tribal. Like, what are you doing, girl? You've
Mhm.
watched too much Survivor recently. You've seen this too often. Which, by the way, this is separate from the season. I think people getting up in. Oh yeah, by the way, since Christian just said it, Karishma is my loser of the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
For pretty much everything we've said so far. But I also
Sure.
think, aside from Karishma being the loser of the week, that getting up at tribal to go whisper in someone's ear should be
Mhm.
banned from this game. I
Hey.
can't stand it. I
Mhm.
hate it. I think that degrades or detracts from what the point of coming into tribal and what tribal is. It's a lot of talk, and then it's like, oh no, what am I going to do? You don't have time to talk anymore. You had time to talk on the beach. That's the point of the game. And I think, I mean, this is not going to happen. It's already, the precedent's been set. I
Mhm.
thought when it first happened that Jeff has to stand up and say, no, sit down, because I just
Mhm.
think that
Yeah.
makes a better game, in my opinion. Because when you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good for TV the first 3 times it happens, but now it's happened so
Mhm.
many
Mhm.
times, it's not anything special anymore.
Oh
And
yeah.
what it does is it's just fluff. It's nothing, and it's
Yeah.
just annoying. Like I hate when it happens now. And this is not
I,
even it's a little bit more tolerable in situations where like it's like a split vote. There's two clear sides and there's two people in the middle, and it's just like, okay, who's gonna get them? Like I don't mind the little whispers at tribal, but I don't like the getting up and moving around and going in someone's ear. Everyone getting up. It's not gym, okay? It's like an assembly. Like that's what
mhm.
tribal should be treated like. You don't see
Right.
kids getting up in an assembly in school, going around and whispering in other people's ears, like, "Oh, the principal said this." It's like no one does that. That's not human nature. I don't get why they're allowing that and encouraging that because of the way
Mhm.
they've edited these episodes in the past. Sorry,
Right.
that was a little bit of a rant,
No,
but
that's okay. After the great pilots and passengers, Julia tribal from last season, where we've got David and Kelly both talking to each other and like the sitting in the middle between two packs of people
that
talking and just sort of shrugging and being like, "This is great, isn't it?" Like, yeah, that was like the peak of what that could be.
yes,
And I'm tired of
I
I
don't want
don't
people
need
getting up.
to
Yeah,
ever see it again. I
yeah,
don't ever need to see it again.
like it just doesn't do anything to the game for me.
I'm
I
with you.
would really wish that production would work it out and try to find a way to like not allow it anymore. I don't mind them like talking to each other. Like trying to whisper to each other where they're sitting because they're strategically placed. Production knows how to sit them, which is kind of weird. That's kind of like messing with the game a little bit
That is weird.
because like you sit down, you're like, oh, you have to sit here, and I'm like, why do I have to sit here? What are you saying about
Mhm.
me? Like kind of thing. So they're strategically placed for this stuff to happen. But like if they're strategically placed, don't let them get up. Why are they strategically placed just to let them get up and go around and talk to each other? Like I
That's a
don't
good point.
understand. Like, what's the point of that? Like I
Put
don't
them
know.
next to the person that they're going to talk to. Come on.
Yes, yes. Like I mean, if you really think about it, it's not that much. But I do enjoy the one
Right.
part of the editing that I did enjoy was how they had Tom. Tom was going down at Karishma. He's like, I want to win, and I'm like, whoa, Tom. Like,
Tom
cool.
only wants the W.
Only
As
wants the
a
dub.
former hockey player,
It's
he
all about
only
the
cares
cup.
about the
It's all
dub.
about the cup. I mean, he played with
Got to win a
Gretzky. He played with Gretzky. Um, but
greatest of all time.
yeah, right. But like the way they edited it, like made it look like it was Tom versus Karishma, and then you end up voting out Vince, which was a good little editing trick, even though you kind of got the
Yeah.
sense that Vince was going, just
Yep.
because of all that. The only thing you didn't know was he going to play it or not,
Mhm.
which could have put a little bit of a wrinkle into it. Which now let's get to this topic of Vince that we've talked about Karishma enough. So
Yeah.
Vince, this genius, decides
Mhm.
I've got an idol for two tribals. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not necessarily clearly on the outs this week, which he wasn't clearly on the outs, but he was
True.
towards the bottom of the poll, regardless of what he thought. Regardless not of what he thought, regardless of everything going on, he knew that he was towards the bottom if he wasn't the bottom. But because of Karishma acting all crazy, I guess. I don't want to call it crazy because it wasn't really crazy. All worried. He was like, oh, I guess she's the target. And I guess that's what made him think, I got to keep this idol. But here's the thing. Dude's got an idol for 2 tribals, okay? So you just came back from IOI. You were a target before IOI. Coming back from IOI is definitely puts some sort of a target on your back a little bit larger. So you don't know if you need it this week, but you're not. You definitely won't need it next week if you go home this week. It's not like it'd be one thing if he had an idol that he found in the jungle and that he was like, I'm saving this for later in the game kind of thing. This isn't something he can do that with, and he just poorly like misjudged the point of this idol. The point of this idol was to save him if he needed saving, and
he did.
He did need saving. He didn't necessarily know it, but he also did know that it wasn't 100%. Like there's no way he could have sat there and been like, I'm safe tonight. Yep. Like no. Why would you not play it? Like next week you would have just been probably. If you would have gotten rid of this idol, that takes a target off your back. It's a big move. People respect it. Okay, you can get some people on your side. It's not like you're a threat to win the game right now. So it's not like they're gonna be like, oh, he just played an idol. We got to get rid of him. He's an idol guy. Like he doesn't look like an idol guy. Like I don't know.
I also have a problem with, and Christian says in the chat here that he really thought, he must have thought that he was in the Women's Alliance. Sure, I believe that. He probably did, and he probably felt the security. But I disagree with his voting Tom, because doesn't he say, I'm going to vote, I don't want to vote Karishma out because I don't want to lose the numbers. But if you still think that you're in this Woman Alliance,
you won't lose the numbers.
Still 5-3.
If you're the 5th one. Well, part of the problem was from episode 1. I mean, this just kind of comes, unfortunately, with his past as well, is that he doesn't. He didn't want to be with the guys early on. He just didn't like who they were as people, and so he wanted to force himself upon the girls, which is part of the reason they voted him out, is because he was kind of coming on. Not that he was like, I'm with you guys. He wasn't like that, but like they were like, yeah, we don't really need him, kind of thing. So they just got rid of him. They cut him off. Like, and he just was ignorant to the fact. He didn't
big time.
Like he just didn't realize like they didn't want him.
Shame.
And he had an idol and just didn't play it. And it's just if I'm glad he's out, because people that make those kind of decisions aren't good for the game later on. So I'm glad that he's not sitting here with an idol still. I'm glad that they pulled the trigger on him rather than Karishma or Tom. In terms of my enjoyment, I'm glad that he's gone. Not that I didn't have a problem with him as a person.
No,
I thought he was a good character actually. But
he was great. He was great when he was sneaking. He was great when he was sneaking.
Yeah,
he fell on his butt and it was funny.
But he didn't play the game right at all. So I think it's good for him to go. I also think this vote was the right vote, which sometimes is the most boring episode when they get everything right. I think they masterfully did it. Like I said, the 5-3 one was so much better than the 4-4 one. And he didn't play the idol. Chelsea still has her idol. Not that she would have played it. Aaron made a little bit of moves. Tom's a little bit more loud and boisterous. He was more calm and collected earlier, which I think loud and boisterous doesn't play to his game as well, but I think at least creates more animosity on this tribe, which it needs.
He was fun and tribal. I liked him.
He was, yeah, right. It needs a little bit more of that. But I don't know if it's going to really.
We'll see. I mean, I sort of feel like personally that the Karishma probably would have been a better target for the majority, but I don't think they could have ever gotten the girls to necessarily like fully buy into that.
Because the idea is also, if you're the girls, they're all about the girls right now. But if they do come to a situation like this again, the reason that they needed someone to target for a split vote because of an idol. So you need someone you always need someone at the bottom of your own numbers to do that with, generally speaking, because you want to convince the other side to come in. You don't want to say, oh, well, we're going to split it between you two, because then you don't have their numbers. You lose their numbers, so you can't properly split the vote. So the idea is you need to every alliance has a top and a bottom. That's just how it is, whether people want to recognize it or not, that if there's an alliance, there's a top, there's a bottom, and the bottom's is always the split vote. That's how it goes, because you need to convince the other tribe to vote them off. But the idea is they have numbers now where if they have to put her on the split vote and they lose her, they still have numbers. That's part of the reason. It's always good to be up 2 than it is to be up 1, because if you're up 1, and you cut that one off, now you're at even, and now you don't know what's going to happen, and then people are going to panic because your alliance isn't as strong anymore because it doesn't dominate as much.
Right.
Granted, when your alliance dominates, if you're at the top of it, you get targeted, kind of thing. So
True that.
it's
True that.
it wasn't that great of an episode, but it did
No.
you get to see a little bit of the dynamics of, I guess, alliance play here,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it hasn't picked up yet. Vokai seems like it's full throttle already. Lyro, they'll get there, especially once they play with the other players, or once an idol gets played or something. Once real chaos starts happening or real confrontation starts happening, I'm confident they'll still be fine. As much dirt as I was putting on them this episode, I think they'll still be fine. They'll still be. I mean, I like Missy, I like Elaine, I like Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Tom, I guess, is fine. I picked Aaron as a winner of the episode. If he plays right, though, that's the thing. Like it's a matter. He can get it right or he can get it wrong. But who was your
my
winner?
winner?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna sort of change gears, but I guess we can just we've talked a lot about the Lyro dynamic and didn't really talk about
the Vokai
too much the Vokai dynamic. Tommy.
Yeah, my boy.
Tommy. And I was sort of getting to this before the whole malfunction.
Yeah, right.
But Tommy to me was the winner of the episode because I finally bought into the fact that, yes, I understand. I see where the audience is picking this man to be their winner, their true stan. I like seeing this. I like seeing him going and talking to Jack. I think he could definitely use Jack. I think him and Jack and Kelly and Lauren there too. They could be very strong.
Well, I don't think he's necessarily working with Lauren.
I don't necessarily know. I mean, he needed to.
I think. Well, he needed. Yeah, he did because she was commanding like enough people.
That's true.
So I think he's more in with Kelly, Jack, and Janet. I think is the fourth.
Yes,
he bonded really well with Janet, and it's a quiet relationship. It's a quiet alliance where it's not even like really an alliance because they, in theory, like Jack didn't vote with them, and there was no skin off their backs though. Like they weren't bothered by it. Like they hashed it out because they weren't targets themselves, and it's just they need to stick together when the time comes. Like he's lining up his troops in a sense. Things are lining up. They're not ready yet.
Right. He wants Jamal too, but I think he's being very careful, and he says it in the episode that Jamal's going to be hard to pick up as a result of last week. And Jamal in one of his diaries was very adamant about like being pretty mad that he got played. So I think Tommy to me did plenty to say, all right, I'm going to be careful here and not necessarily poke the hornet's nest. But he did have a conversation with Dan where Dan is sort of naming names to him. And then there's also this dynamic of Jamal saying he wanted to go after Dan, and Tommy keenly picking up on the fact that, hey, people are naming names. Jamal's naming Dan. I know that Tommy doesn't necessarily want to work with Dan. He may. It's sort of up in the air. I don't think he truly vibes with Dan the way he does with the other people.
Yeah.
But Jamal naming names and Tommy smartly not naming names gives Tommy all the incentive to say, all right, Jamal's probably going to be my target here, even though, last week or the week before he just wanted to work with him. But I don't think it's going to end up going very well for their pairing per se.
Yeah. So the J Alliance.
Yes, the all J Alliance.
But I mean, yeah, I think it's working right now for Tommy about how he's staying behind the scenes. He's not really forcing the names upon anyone, and that's how he's going to survive and get to a point. I really hope. I think he will, but I hope he knows when to flip the switch because there's a time where he has to start doing that stuff. Because if he doesn't, he won't have a game at that point. He wouldn't have made any moves, and I think he needs to eventually make some moves and at least make some smaller moves, like make some decisions to like take his voting block and go with, say, Lauren on a vote or go with Jamal on a vote or whatever ends up being the voting lines. Definitely. He needs to make a decision at one point where to go with them to vote against the other one because I still think he's perfectly capable of going back the other way the next vote. But I think he needs to make a decision where it's his decision who goes home, in a sense. Not that people know it's his decision, but it is his decision. Like, make it someone else's move, but he's the reason the move worked, kind of thing. Because in the first vote, it was Lauren's move. She made the move. But he in theory made that work, but he didn't really have much of a choice in that. He wasn't going to go on the other side, because if he went on the other side, you get a tie vote, things get hairy then, because he was going to bring Kelly with him. So I think it's more important for him to try to find an opportunity where he can be that deciding force, where he can be like, well, I'm going to pick them, something like that. He needs us to do something like that, because he won't be the target per se. Yeah, some people might be a little upset with him, but he's very good. Like you just saw, he's very good at being like, listen, it wasn't against you. It was something that I just needed to do for this.
Right.
So I think he needs to make one of those kinds of moves before we get to emerge, to establish himself as more of a main player, because he's got what it takes. I think he
definitely does. He definitely does. I'm crossing my fingers he doesn't get Underwooded, but hey, Chris Underwood won the game, so I can't really say that that's a thing.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to the scenes from the next episode, which we brought up earlier, because we're now here at the end. Dean and Chelsea are snuggling up. They are spooning, I think I saw that little bit.
Oh,
there.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
shacking up. Let's move to Fiji, baby. And Aaron's not thrilled with it.
No.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to be a little like, what? I mean, I don't know if the girls will be as mad about it, although, yeah, none of them know that she has the idol, so I mean that's good on her. But because she has the idol, as long as she keeps her wits about her, like, they'll get target if she sticks with Dean, and like they keep this relationship thing going. She's got to be aware that a target will come on their backs, and if she knows when it does, she can make a really nice idol move.
Play that play.
No one's going to expect her to have an idol, I don't think.
Until she tells Dean.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then listen. If she tells Dean, she belongs with Dean. Okay. They'll be very happy together, because when Dean finds out, everyone will find out, because he'll open his dumb mouth.
Yeah. Oh yes.
I'm sorry, Dean.
Dean, everybody's here. You just told everybody that Chelsea has the idol. Okay. So Christian, the relationship name, Cheen or Delcy? I lean more toward Delcy.
I like Delcy because it's got less Dean in it. It's just
less
got the
Dean. Less Dean.
Which
more
is
Chelsea.
That's all Dean is. He's just a big old D.
He's just a big old D.
That's
man.
Dean for you. So, like I said, as I have him plastered across my chest. If Dean, by the way, if Dean is ever a topic in the episode, I will wear this shirt.
Okay.
He came up in this episode. I just thought of that now, but I will wear this shirt. I mean, this isn't that Dean. This is Dean
Dirty
Ambrose.
Deeds.
This is Dirty Deeds Dean Ambrose, John Moxley now, but we're not. This is not a wrestling podcast.
Wow, he changed his name.
Well, that's what his name was beforehand. His real name is John Good. I'm not gonna. Yeah, let's not get into the wrestling world. But that was his old wrestling name. But yeah, so
got it.
Overall, probably one of the weakest episodes so far. Probably gonna end up being one of, if not the weakest episode of the season. There's been ones like this before in more recent seasons, so it's not something to be concerned about in terms of the season.
No.
The only concern I really have is IOI was a disaster this episode, and I don't want anything that desperate again from IOI. Something that
it was weird. It was a disaster in a good way. Well, it was entertaining television, but
it was funny, but like it was contrived. Like it was like, what? Yeah. Like you could tell this was just like such a weird, out of place thing, and they're like, well, if there's no fire, just bring proof of fire. And he comes back and he's like, it was raining, here's ash. And she's like, well, I guess that's good enough. Like, what is this? Like, here's an idol, I guess you did fine. Thank God.
Right.
Part of me's happy too, because he's out, because that idol got taken out of the game, because that's a dirty idol. That's a really dirty idol. Unlike Kelly's is, not that dirty. I mean, she got a really softball idol quiz, but it's not as
Dean wouldn't have got it. Dean wouldn't have got the questions right.
Yeah, right. Dean would have it'd been like, you have 6 cats. I hope Dean has at least the wherewithal, like when he eventually does go to IOI, if he does, to just not take any challenge they offer him, because he's not.
That's so good.
Although if he does, he'll live up to his name, No Vote Dean, because his vote will be useless.
Please.
Please make
Sign
Dean's
up
vote
for
not
that.
count, because they're not going to vote
Sign up
for
for
him.
that.
They're not going to vote with him, because he just votes with someone, and that's it. So, but yeah, so
Yes.
uh,
Has your winner pick changed at all?
no, it's still Tommy.
Still Tommy.
Stick
I'm
with
sticking
Jason.
with Jason.
Sticking with
Sticking with
Jason.
my man.
Listen, I thought he was going to have a good game. I really did.
Yeah, I'm ready for somebody to find that vocal idol. I'm hoping next episode we get that because
Yeah, it seems like
I
the
want
right
to know.
time.
Mhm.
And I think Jason's the guy. I really do.
Yeah.
He's the idol guy. I don't know who
Sign
else
up
would
for
find.
that.
Kelly's not really going to look for it because she has one for 2 more
Yeah.
tribals.
2 more tribals.
Jack could get it. I could see Jack getting it.
Yeah, me too. Climb the
Uh,
tree, brother.
maybe Jamal. Not really.
Out of desperation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The only girl I could see really getting it would be Nora. I don't think Lauren's really going to look for it. She doesn't seem like the type.
You think she's gonna trying to hang around people?
Yeah, I think Nora might, just because she's sporadic. I don't know if she has the ability to find one, but she's someone who could go looking for it. Janet definitely won't look. So, Boston Rob's your winner pick. That's a good winner pick. He'll be there at the end. That's a guarantee.
I feel like Sandra could have also been my winner pick for this episode just because it was funny when she stood behind the leaf. But yeah. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping we can leave this episode behind and move on to greener pastures for the rest of the season. I'm excited. I'm hoping it's almost a Vokai. I'm hoping Vokai loses the challenge so we get an even 2-2. I am sort of looking forward to a swap. I know how you feel about swaps, but
as long as it's just an even with this, as long as there's only one swap and then a merge, I'm okay with one swap and a merge as long as it's a swap in terms of still 2 teams. Don't make it 3 teams because then that's a disaster waiting to happen because it's too random.
We'll see.
I hope not. I hope they've learned their lesson because they've had great players voted out of those just because of the nature of those swaps are just so volatile. Like you see, Boston Rob and Sandra never had to go through those swaps. Sandra did in Game Changers, but Game Changers was a terrible season. We're not going to get into that right now. But like when they originally played the game, Sandra and Boston Rob, they didn't have to go through all this ridiculousness. Boston Rob, when Heroes versus Villains came around, idols he never heard of hidden immunity. There wasn't hidden immunity idols. That wasn't a thing. He played the game before then. So keep in mind how old school they are. So they haven't had a chance to really play with the randomness yet, which will be interesting in season 40. But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
On to greener pastures.
Greener pastures.
Grass is always greener on the other side.
Hopefully no future malfunctions with my microphone.
Yeah, hopefully,
Sending that one up.
Send it up to
Thank you for the patience,
to the
listeners.
idols, the Survivor idols. Boston Rob and Sandra will bless you with good mic quality next week. That's a promise.
Yes, I'm hoping. So. I hope I don't lose my vote.
Yeah, right? You get an idol for 2 tribals.
That would be pretty good.
Would you honestly, do you think if you ever had a challenge offered to you where you're like, oh, I can do this, would you think too much about it, or would you just be like, yeah, I'll do it? I think I would. Like if so, in other words,
this challenge?
No, well, obviously this challenge, I would say right
or
away.
Any challenge,
just generally any challenge that you would, in theory, want to do. Thanks, Kristen. Like any challenge that you're confident in your ability in, would you want to just go right away into it? Like I don't think I'd be the person that would be like ask any questions about it and try to draw out that third.
I don't know.
Tribal. Like I don't think I wouldn't think of it because you don't know going in.
Right.
But if I was confident about something, so I feel like the people that are less confident and then get tempted into it would have a better chance of getting more power. Which is
I get nervous.
It's a weird thing. I don't know.
I get nervous, so I definitely would.
You'd just be hesitant.
Would probably be like, probably not.
I mean, I definitely say no, like if I was in my current state and Boston Rob asked me to make challenge fire against him, I'd be like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Bye. I mean, granted, if I was on Survivor, I would probably practice making fire at home a lot before I went on.
Yeah.
And be confident in my own ability, but I'd still probably be like, nah, bro, I'm good. Thanks for the lesson. Yeah. I'm out of here.
Yeah. IOI 3 for 3, 3 challenges, 3 weeks. Maybe next week is the first week we see somebody decline. Who knows?
Yep. I mean,
we'll see.
Who we got next? We got Vokai next week.
We got somebody from Vokai. Yep.
Well, whatchamacallit?
So
How do they determine?
Oh, didn't they say? I think they said you have to decide as a tribe.
Yeah, that's right. That was in the
They said
preview.
that
Was in the preview.
teased.
Yes. So
That will be fun.
That'll
will
be
fun.
Yeah. They're probably gonna be like, Kelly, what do you think about this, huh? Although I also hope there's a confrontation this week when someone gets back with Kelly.
I'm praying to the Survivor gods for that.
It doesn't need to be like an argument, but I want them to talk. Like I want something. I want substance from that.
Yes. Let's hope.
Sustenance, not substance.
Substance. Let's manifest it. Manifest.
We think hard enough. All right. Well, It was a pleasure. Thank you for coming out. Anyone that's there other than Christian and Kristen?
Yes, Kristen and Christian, thank you so much for participating with us.
Tongue twister.
A little bit of a tongue twister.
And John, I will. I'll see you next Saturday evening for Saturday morning Survivor.
Yes, I will see you then.
All right. Thank you, folks. Everyone, have a good night.